As far as police vehicles, for the 18 officers, we're recommending 10. Again, the IACP recommends that you have between 1.5 and 2.0 officers per vehicle. So we always try to shoot for the middle, 1.7, 1.8, and this is what we come in. This is where you get your best life out of the cars. If you have below that, you have not enough officers using a car. If you have above it, you have too many officers using a car. And they just get beat up too fast and you have to replace them quicker. So 10 for 18 officers is fine. As far as the police facility, again, 20 officers requires 5,000 square feet of space for what we call a headquarters type facility, which has locker rooms and a cell and evidence rooms and offices and things of that nature. And the annual amount on that would be $60,000. $50,000 would go to rent. And actually some of this will drop off, and I'll show you that in a second. But it would be an annual payment of about $50,000 would go from the regional department to Lower Frederick to rent 5,000 feet of space. We normally say about $10 a square foot per year. I think hopefully everybody's familiar with where Lower Frederick Township Municipal Building is. If not, here's a Google Earth shot of it. And the police department is around back. You go around back on the ground floor and then off of that parking lot, and they have actually 2 levels that would be utilized in that building for the police headquarters. And again, it's right in the middle of the entire area. If for some reason we couldn't get that extra 1,000 feet, there's always a possibility that we could bring in a modular building, a modular annex, and set it out back and put it on a slab and run the utilities to it. The cost would be the same. We wouldn't pay the rent to Lower Frederick. They would rent from the modular building company to get the building brought in. It's only if needed, and probably in this case would not be needed. Okay, I just want to show you a couple other regional police departments that are in the area that we've done and what they've been able to accomplish here. The Slate Belt Regional Police Department is up in Northampton County. It's right off of 33. Wind Gap, Penn Argyl, and Plainfield Township. They've been in existence since March of 2015. They've got a population of a little over 12,000. They actually have 21 officers for that population of 12,000. When we did the study, we used the IACP formula, and we estimated that their annual incidents would be 6,849 calls per year. In the first full year of operation, they actually came in at 6,691. So we were off by 158 calls for that, which is like about 2%, which is pretty good. And I'm not saying this to brag, we don't do it, we just use the formula, but the formula is very good and very reliable for the numbers that we use going forward, for the number of officers and so forth. In 2015, we estimated that their cost per officer was going to be $107,000. And by 2017, their costs were only up to $114,000. It only went up 6% over 3 years, which is like 2% a year. Their actual overall budget, though, only went up 3.3% over a 4-year period. So it's less than 1% a year that their budget went up. And a lot of the reason for that is the grant money they received. They received over $270,000 in grant money in 3 years, 15, 16, and 17. And this grant money is still coming in as we speak. There's a lot of grant money out there by the state for regional police departments. The state finally, many years ago, decided to get behind the regional police bandwagon and say, this is a good idea, and we're going to give you some money if you do it. And there's 2 or 3 grants out there that are only for regional police departments to get. And most of them certainly do. This is just a little, I'll throw this in to show you. They just got this like 2 months ago. It's a Polaris Crew Cab ATV. It was given to the Slate Belt Regional Police Department by Monroe County. They're not even in Monroe County. They border Monroe County. But Monroe County has gaming money from the casino up there. And the chief told me he actually got a call from Monroe County saying, hey, we got money, we got to give it away. What do you need? Go buy some. And they were talking about getting an ATV for the trails. They have the Appalachian Trail that goes up and over Blue Mountain. And I know you guys have a ton of trails in this area and parks and everything. Wouldn't something like that be nice for the summer months and the warm weather months to put an officer in there and work all your trails and cover them and everything? They said go buy it, send us the bill. It's actually closer to 20,000. I think it's a little more than 20,000. It's like 22,000. The Central Bucks Regional Police Department in Doylestown, they've been in existence for about 4 or 5 years now. Just in the last 2 years, they've received all of these grants from the state, from the federal government, and even from the local, the Delaware Valley Insurance Company, the Delaware Valley Insurance Trust, which a lot of the member municipalities in Montgomery County belong to. As far as reductions in cost each year, the first year obviously you have startup costs. So we would guesstimate that you would probably save, well, you would only buy, the first year we had budgeted actually 5 cars. That would go down to 2 cars after the first year. You don't need 5 cars a year. So you would save certainly a good chunk on that, $135,000. Your building costs would go down. Initially you need furniture, you need some signs. And obviously your uniforms would go down from an initial outlay of a lot, $1,200 to start up everything. And then that would go to about $700 a year per officer after that. So you're looking at saving about $150,000 a year right off the first year budget. And then whatever you can bring in grant-wise, and I say you're looking at a minimum of about $150,000 on grants. So you're looking at a net total of about a $300,000 swing the first year, which is 10–11% of your budget. So that's good. Okay, how's this actual going to look? The organizational chart, we had some questions on that. This is what it would look like. You would have, again, a regional police commission at the top that would govern the operation. All the municipalities would feed into the regional police commission. And they would sit on a monthly, they have public meetings, it's monthly, and they handle the budget, they handle all internal affairs, works, they handle hiring, firing, discipline, etc. The officers would still go around and make reports available to, or actually go to township meetings and borough meetings if they wanted them to. Some municipalities say yes, some municipalities just say, you know, send us the report and we'll read it. If there's a particular problem in the community, then certainly the officer would come to the meeting and they would talk about it. But if they're not on the agenda, they don't go. But you can see this would be divided into 4 squads. There would be a sergeant, 2 officers per squad, and each sergeant would be responsible for his or her own squad, along with some other side jobs. One would run the schedule, one would control the evidence, one would supervise the investigation, one would supervise the traffic enforcement. There would then be 4 traffic patrol officers or patrol traffic officers. They would essentially be patrol officers first and traffic officers second. These officers would work a set routine like day work, middle shift, night shift, and off. That's kind of how a police department rotates. You have a 4-squad system, day, middle, night, off, and they just keep rotating around. These other 4 would overlap. They wouldn't work the 12-hour or the 8-hour shifts. They would work sort of peak hour shifts when the traffic is out there. 7 to 3 in the daytime, 9 to 5, 7 to 11, maybe, 11 to 1 at night, something like that. And then they would also be flexible if one of these officers would call off for some reason, vacation, holiday, sick time. Hey, you're going over here today, you're going to work a patrol zone. You're going to be assigned to squad 2 or squad 3 or whatever. So you're covering the shifts, but without any overtime, which again is a good thing from a financial standpoint. And if we don't run traffic that particular day, then we don't run traffic. Patrol comes first. We need to staff the patrol, and we need to keep the visibility and respond to the calls quickly. There would be 1 detective, and again the 2 clerks that we mentioned before. This is how we provide, and Bill talked about the 2 zones. This is we propose something like this, not exactly, but pretty close to something like this. The area would be divided basically by population into two patrol zones, Zone 1, Zone 2. And we try to look at them on a pretty much population basis because that way it's equal from a call volume standpoint. Don't forget the population is what numbers of population generates the number of calls. So if you've got equal population, you can conceivably pretty close, you're going to have equal number of calls on a given day. And this would average out to about 14 calls a day for each zone, which is good. I mean, it keeps the officers, it's not too busy, but it's busy enough. And then in between those calls, a police call, they say, takes an average of about 45 minutes to handle a police call. So when you take that away, the rest of the time would be preventative patrol, again, traffic. And over and above that, you would have your sergeant, and you would have your traffic officers, as we mentioned. They would be roaming the whole entire area, or assigned to specific high traffic areas or problem areas. Somebody calls up from a certain community, hey, there's always accidents at my corner, or they're always blowing the stop sign down here, get somebody down here. Boom, we can get somebody down there within a day or two, we can put some good enforcement on that area. Again, the headquarters will be at the Lower Frederick building, the substation will be down there at the Perkiomen building. And as you can see, they would cover 5 regional schools. There's the 3 down here at the cluster for Perkiomen at the high school, and the middle school, and the elementary school. And then this is the elementary school in Schwenksville, and then this is the middle school where we're at right now. The total population is 4,264 kids between those 5 schools right now. That's a good number of kids to cover during the day. And we want to be responsive to them. We want to be able to develop plans with those schools for emergency responses, rapid responses if we need to get in there. We want to get in there and make sure we know the layout of all the schools. I was the chief of Telemensa. We had North Penn High School. North Penn High School is gigantic. And we used to go in there on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings and do walkthroughs, so we knew where we were. You go in there at night, it's dark, it's confusing. You know, you go in there during the day and everybody's running around and there's a gunman in there or something happened. It's very confusing. You know, somebody says, hey, there's a gunman up in A pod or there's a gunman in B pod. You know, if you're not familiar with the layout, that don't mean a hill of beans to you. But if you're familiar, hey, okay, I know where I'm going. And when you talk to the other officers, hey, we got a problem in A pod or we got a problem in B pod, they can go right there. So that's kind of what the breakdown would look like. There would never be, with this number of officers, with 18 officer department, there would never be less than 2 officers on duty at all times. That's absolute minimum, would be a 2-person minimum. A lot of times there would obviously be more than that. There'd be 3, 4, sometimes even 5. When I was the chief in Telemensa, we had 24 officers. We had a 3-officer minimum around the clock. We had 18,000 people. We only had about 12.5 square miles. But we always had 3 officers on, that was our minimum, 3-officer minimum. With an 18-officer department, you could easily have a 2-officer minimum. So never less than 2 officers. And again, you're only talking 10 miles from up here to down here. So in an emergency situation, 10 minutes, you're talking, you know, and that's, when is the officer going to be all the way up here, you know, and have to come all the way down here? The chances of that happening are not a lot. More than likely, they're going to be around here or around here. If this officer has an emergency and he has to go back them up or she has to go back them up, they can get there in a lot less than 10 minutes. So the coverage will be good. This is just a shot of Perkiomen, Township Municipal Building there, the shaded area. And again, if they decided they wanted to put a substation in there, it would be a great idea. It's right across from the school complex here with the high school and the middle school and the elementary school. It's 4.3 miles from the Perkiomen building, the township building, to the Lower Frederick Township building, 4.3 miles. So we're not talking a great distance, but again, for convenience to the public, for convenience to the school people, to have it down there would be, like I said, it would be an asset. All right, quick summary here of what we're looking at. 18 officers, and that would include obviously 1 chief, 4 sergeants, 8 patrol officers, 4 patrol/traffic officers, a full-time detective, and 2 full-time clerical people, 2 full-time clerical staff. What it additionally gives you is a centrally located 5,000 square foot regional police headquarters, which would give the officers everything they need to operate out of. 2 patrol zones, again, with 9,500 population each. Minimum of 24/7 coverage by 2 officers. Full coverage for the entire 23 square miles. I think everybody would see cops and you would see them fairly often. Full coverage and full response plans for all the 5 schools. We can do pre-plans, emergency plans, what-if plans, all of those kind of things, and have them ready to go with the schools. We don't want to protect our schools, as we know, and we don't want anything to happen there. You would have a greatly increased response time to the calls for service. The Pennsylvania State Police, again, God love them. I have a bunch of friends that are state troopers, but the average response time for the state police in the state of Pennsylvania is 45 minutes to a call. 45 minutes. That's the average. And I've done a lot of these where I've had horror stories where people tell me an hour or 2 hours is not uncommon. You can't predict where they're at. You can't predict what they're going to be tied up on. The average response time in this department would probably be 5 to 10 minutes. So, again, 10 cars, standardized uniforms, standardized equipment, and another thing that's important, standardized policies. You would have standardized policies between all 4 municipalities, which means basically your local ordinances. A lot of what police departments do is not just crime. It's local stuff, it's nuisance stuff, it's what we call quality of life stuff. Junk car ordinances, abandoned house ordinances, weed, signs down, noise ordinances, all those kind of things that go into the quality of life in everybody's community. State police don't do those. They can't do it. There's 2,627 municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania, and the state police are doing 85% of it. So there's no way they could be doing 2,100 sets of ordinances and remember all of them. So they just say, guess what, we're not doing it. And they don't respond to a lot of what they call low-level stuff. They don't respond to some vandalisms, disorderly conducts. The state police do not respond to non-reportable accidents. There's 2 kinds of accidents in the state of Pennsylvania. One's a reportable and one's a non-reportable. A reportable is if somebody's injured or a car has to be towed. That's a reportable. There must be a report filed on that. The other one is a non-reportable, which means if me and you have a fender bender, nobody's hurt and we can drive away, that's a non-reportable. State police say, anybody hurt, anybody towed, handle it yourself. And that's not a slap at them, that's just they have to cut things somewhere because of the nature of their staffing. So, and if anybody in here's had a fender bender recently or anything, the first thing when you call your insurance company, what do they ask you? Do you have a police report? And if it's a non-reportable and the state police are there, you're going to say, no, I don't. Plus then the problem is you become your word against my word as far as driver versus driver. You don't have an independent investigation. You don't have a police officer there to take, pictures or write a report or anything like that as to what occurred. So now you're arguing with your insurance company, hey, I didn't blow the stop sign, you blew the stop sign. Oh no, he said you blew the stop sign. Okay, so now we're down to that. Again, you're eligible for the various state grants, and the per capita cost boils down to 38 cents a day. 38 cents a day when you break it all down. I mean, I guess the question you have to go out and answer is it worth 38 cents a day for an 18-officer, 24-hour department? I'd like to thank everybody from the municipalities for providing all the data and the various phone calls, and Kevin back there I see from Lower Frederick's been great. Bill's been a big help here and getting this thing off the ground and keeping it moving. So I thank you guys. And that's the end of our show. I'll be glad to answer any questions here that I can within reason. Bro, we'll give you a microphone here. Do it that way so everybody can hear.
That was a very comprehensive report.
Thank you.
How do you obtain a copy? Is that on the internet or do you have other?
The municipalities, the PowerPoint's not, we don't give out the PowerPoint. I mean, we don't, municipalities have it. I don't know if they're, I don't think they're going to give it out. The actual report is on the website. If you go on there, in fact, I was looking at Perkiomen today. The full report is on there, so you can look at that on there. It's a
township website.
Perkiomen's is on there. I don't know the other ones. I know it's on Perkiomen. I looked.
Okay, thank you.
If not, they will. Most of them do.
I'm just wondering what the timeframe is going forward to make a decision.
There's been no decisions made by municipalities. What they wanted to do is get the report from us. They wanted to have a public meeting to throw the information out to the public. And then the municipalities are going to get feedback from the public and start to think about it into next year. It could be sometime into next year, or it could be a year from now. They can move as fast or as slow as they want to. I'd say a minimum you're looking at about 6 months at least, probably more than that.
The commissioners are overseeing the regional police board. Is that a salary position, or is
No.
that part of their job?
That's part of their jobs as they get salary as supervisors or councilmen anyway. Their elected officials get a salary. But they all have additional duties. They serve on commissions and everything as part of that job. And then as part of that, one or two of them would volunteer or be assigned to representatives to the regional police commission.
As far as salaries go, you get paid for 2 meetings a month. I think it's like $50 a meeting, so that's the salary.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not a big salary when I say they get a salary, but they do get a salary.
I just wanted to clarify your numbers. It didn't look like that.
Give her the mic.
It didn't look like the. It didn't look like that the police commissioner's salary, the detective, or the chief, the commissioner, and the detective were in your.
They're in there. The detective is with the officers. The detective's not a promotion, it's just an assignment. The detective is one of the officers. There's a chief, his salary was in there, there's 4 sergeants, their salary was in there, and then there's 13 officers. One of them is the detective. So that's what's 13, 14, 13, 17, 18, that's your 18.
And the police commission's free.
The police commission doesn't, they don't get a salary, no, they're just elected officials serving in another capacity.
Chief Perkiomen, thank you for your service. So,
Thank you.
looking at Perkiomen's budget, it's $3.2 million in the general fund. So this would be a 30 some odd % increase. I was hoping to come today and hear the great need for it. You talked about there's no stats available for the other townships. You only have Laura Frederick's statistics. But what about the UCR? What's that telling us?
The UCRs, the state police, the state police don't break the UCRs down. They just lump them for their total population. If you look at the UCRs are the uniform crime reports. If you look under Montgomery County, there'll be a line item for the Pennsylvania State Police, and it'll say 57,000 people, and it'll have all the crimes in there for the total 57,000. Now, whether they break them down in-house and they can provide them, we normally can't get them.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought that would have been broken out by zip code.
No, they don't.
Okay. You had mentioned about changing the allocations after the budget starts. So, a little history. I was a councilman in East Greenville Borough, on the police commission there in Upper Perk before it went to crap. And I can tell you, changing the allocation.
Your words, not mine, man.
Well,